Hey, what's up YouTube? Today I'm going to show you how to change the spark plugs on your 2005 to 2010 Jeep Grand Cherokee 3.7 liter V6. Now the spark plugs that you'll actually want for this job are made by NGK, and this is the model number right here, and you'll want a total of 6 of them. Now anytime you're dealing with anything electrical on your vehicle, you want to get in the habit of disconnecting the battery. So here we're just going to take a 10mm wrench and disconnect the negative side. And go ahead and just get that out of the way. We'll just stick a little towel in its place so it doesn't connect itself to the battery. Like that. Here's a little tip, YouTube. Make sure that before you actually get started changing the spark plugs, that the engine is cold. You don't want to remove spark plugs on a hot engine because they'll be a major pain in the butt to remove. So make sure the engine's cold. You might want to do this in the morning after you park the car at night, or give it like 4 or 5 hours to cool down. Alright, so our next step here is to remove the air intake components so that we can get down underneath to the ignition coils and then to the spark plugs. So we're going to be removing this first. Alright, so there are a couple areas we need to keep an eye on here when disconnecting that airbox up top. Alright, so we've got a connector down here that we're going to want to disconnect, this blue one. We've got a hose clamp right here and also a hose clamp right here at the throttle body. So let's get started. And then as soon as you're done disconnecting all of those, there are 2 screws holding on this box. One in there, which I don't think you can see, and then another one right in there. So you're going to want to unscrew that, and one on the other side here. And those actually don't come out of the box, they stay in the box with some rubber grommets. So you'll just want to loosen those up. Alright, it looks like a T30 torque socket is what you're going to want to use to remove those 2 screws. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, that's probably loose enough. Do the other side. want to wiggle it off. There you go. You want to see the box here. This is it. So you can see these little screws actually stay in and don't come out. Just put that off to the side. Alright, so now this is where we're going to be working for the remainder of this job. Let me walk you around and show you some stuff. Alright, so we have a V6 engine here, so you're going to have 3 cylinders on each side. And you're going to see three coils, 3 coil packs over here, 1, 2, and 3. And again on the left side, 1, 2, and 3 all the way back there. So what we're going to need to do is actually unmount those, pull them off, and the spark plugs will be underneath those. Now it really doesn't matter which side you start with, but just so I can show you a clear image here of how to remove the first coil, I'm going to go ahead and remove this one right here. Now we can pull our ignition coil, and then we're just going to give it a quick little burst in the actual spark plug hole, just to get any debris that might actually be in there. So let's go ahead and pull this up and off the spark plug. Go. And, you know, feel free to wipe any debris that might be on there. And just put that off to the side. See, down into our spark plug hole. Now we'll just hit that real quick with a little compressed air. Can I actually see any debris in there? Yeah, there might be a little bit down there. So we'll just hit that real quick before we remove it. You want to actually put the nozzle in the hole and just lightly hit that. Make sure everything comes out. I don't know if you can tell, but now there's nothing in there. There was a little debris in there. I don't know if you could tell, but there's nothing in there. That's what we want before we go ahead and remove it. Now we grab our spark plug socket removal tool. It's just a 5/8 inch socket with a little rubber gasket at the end of it. And I actually removed my rubber gasket, so there is none in here. I find it easier to work with without the gasket. So I'm going to show you a little trick that I do. I won't actually pull the spark plug out with this. I'll use a little tool I found at Sears. It's just a magnetic tool, right? It's got a little magnetic tip at the end there, and I'll just hit the end of the spark plug and just pull that out. Oh, and make sure the socket that you're using is clean, because, you know, we just cleaned out the holes, so we don't want to get any debris in there from the socket. Now I'm actually going to grab another extension real quick. Sometimes an additional extension just makes life a little bit easier. Go ahead and loosen that up all the way. Now, depending on what kind of socket you have, it may or may not come out with it. It did not in this case. So we're just going to grab a clean magnetic tool, just wipe that off, and go down in that hole and grab the spark plug. That's it. There are actually a couple things we want to do here to prepare our new spark plug before we go ahead and actually put it in. Alright, one, we're going to want to put a little bit of anti-seize on the threads before we go ahead and drop that in. And two, we're going to want to check the gap thickness on the spark plug. Alright, it should be 43 thousandths of an inch for our specific application here, and you can do that, you can check that by using a little tool here. So what you could do is go ahead and slide this tool, if you have one like this, in here and check and see what we have. Alright, so we are about exactly where we need to be. I don't know if you can see that. Yep, it's showing up. That's about exactly where we need to be. So this spark plug is pretty much perfect. Perfectly gapped. Alright, so let's go ahead and throw some anti-seize on it. Just a little bit, nothing too crazy. When we actually put the spark plug back in, we're going to want to hand tighten it first so we don't strip any kind of threads from the engine. So what I'll do is I'll actually lower it with it attached to this magnet pickup tool and slowly and carefully lower that in. And get that started by hand. Alright, now once that gets tight enough, you can go ahead and get that started with the socket. Just pull up off of there. Go back in there. Hand tighten it some more. Okay. And you're going to want to torque it down to exactly 20 foot-pounds. And that's it. Now we'll go ahead, just give it a quick look in there. Everything looks good. Check our ignition coil. Make sure there's no dirt or debris. And make sure it actually looks okay. Everything in there looks fine. And to go ahead and drop that back into the hole carefully. and over the stud. And we're going to want to push down on there and seal it up. Feels good. Screw this nut back on. I don't have any torque value for that. Just keep in mind that this here is plastic. So, you want to be gentle torquing that down. You don't want it to go too crazy. Just snug it up. We're going to want to actually repeat this process 2 more times on this side, and then go over ahead to the other side. And if I find any parts that are difficult, I'll go ahead and show you some tricks that I may have. But other than that, it's pretty much straightforward, just like the one we did. And just make sure you install the airbox on top here. Connect your hose clamps on the throttle body and intake. I have a little bit of a different intake system, a K&N aftermarket one, but yours should be somewhat similar with a connection right there on the box. And make sure you make the last connection here for the sensor on the box. Don't forget that. And reconnect your battery. Fire it up and make sure everything is smooth, and that's it. You should be good to go. Just for reference, you should be changing your spark plugs every 30,000 miles on the 3.7 liter V6. And that's it. Hey, be sure to like this video if I helped you out, and feel free to subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching. I think what I'll do for the rest of this video is just do a fast-paced work on the rest of the cylinders here, and at the end of this video I'll talk about how you can get the spark plugs, these specific ones, pretty cheap. A lot of places want to overcharge you, and I'll show you how to basically do this for it was definitely under 20 bucks. So at $6 a spark plug, you're looking at $36. Simple math there. But looking to save you some money, not only on parts, but at the dealership. So definitely try to use this do-it-yourself to your advantage and save, I don't know, a couple $100 at the dealership. Just a little heads up here. That first one, the first ignition coil we took out, it was super easy to wiggle that out and maneuver it so it was out of the hole. But for any of the other ones you're working on, it's probably going to be much easier to just go ahead and disconnect from the actual coil, because you only have so much wire to work with here, and then go ahead and pop that ignition coil out, and then just put that to the side. It's just much easier to work with that way. Alright, so when you get to the second one on the left-hand side here, you're going to have a little bar here that gets in the way of removing that ignition coil. So what you can do is just loosen that up right here to give yourself a little bit extra room. And that really just frees it up just enough so you got a little bit of wiggle room to get that ignition coil out.